We help contractors by the hundreds with all of the administrative burdens that surround handling their construction projects. That means helping them with estimating, working with them on all the administration of their supplements, and doing the administrative services back office work that enables them to focus on selling, building, and billing.
We see contractors just start. Maybe they're struggling with the fundamentals of running a construction business. They partner up with us. Their process is now defined. They're able to grow their profit margins and actually scale because they're not held back with the burden of dealing with the supplementing process. I feel proud of what we've been able to do in this industry.
This is Larry Bache with the Merlin Law Group, helping policyholders for more than 30 years. If you have a claim or your client has a claim that needs help, please feel free to contact Merlin Law Group because we are the true policyholder advocate.
C3 was eager to help us, and even whenever we weren't giving them work, they were still eager to give advice. The things that they were putting out for the pertaining from DMO to RFG, and giving that to the industry and not charging anything for it, I thought was really cool. And that's stuff that I as a contractor appreciate. I'd recommend C3 to any contractor that's looking for a PA, especially if you're around Colorado. Great guys, man. I'm nothing but happy with the work they've done for us.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's the Daily Hail Forecast, sponsored as always by Merlin Law Group, C3 Group, and Art of the Supplement / Ballots Claims. We had a super busy day yesterday, and it looks like we even had a chance for a much more busy day again today. And if you've been paying any attention to Hill Trace, you know that we always do 5-star days. Derik's doing the forecast and wearing his green pants. Well, we managed to figure out a way to do that. I'm going to do the weather headlines real quick before we try to see if this works properly. We had our first 2 5-star maps of the year. It was the busiest hail season day that we've had since spring of last year. I think it was somewhere in June. We had over 250 hail reports. Looks like there's a lot more hail possible today, too. We'll be going way into detail about that. Very large hail is possible, especially around the St. Louis metro area and even down into Texas. And I've been continually saying, follow those CDC guys, do that social distancing, to which I say, we're still managing to get Derik in here. So take it over, Derik. We're going to go over all the maps from yesterday. So let's roll.
Hey guys, so I'm here in the Hill Palace, got the green screen on and got the green suit on. If you can't tell, the shirt is actually a bunch of math equations. I figured we would go as weather as we possibly could here. I've actually got the Katie Weatherman shoes on. I've got a green belt on. I've got radar socks on. We are decked out to the T. One of the first times, at least in a long time, I think we've done 2 5-star maps in a single day before, but this is one of the first times in quite a while that we've actually done that. So pretty exciting. So I'm going to basically cover our hail map recap here for you. And then we're going to kick it back over to John, and he'll cover the rest of that. So we had, again, we had a super active day yesterday, 250 plus hail reports across the U.S., and I think it's been, I don't know if we even did that last year. So it was a very, very active day. Starting off with our first, actually the second 5-star map that we actually made was in Chicago. Happened about an hour after our first one, but the Chicago metro area, so areas near Easton, Rockford, specifically the south side of Rockford. And then we had just a cluster of storms, several of them, one down by Valparaiso, multiple storms kind of with some minor hail, your $quarter to $half type stuff kind of scattered about the Chicago metro area. But the 2 hardest hit areas, the south side of Rockford and the Easton area right up against Lake Michigan there. So some very, very significant hail across that part of the country. And it was intense there. So that was our first 5-star map. But then earlier, just an hour before, we actually had our very first 5-star map of the year of 2020. And that one was in Iowa. And if I'm not correct, this is actually our first five-star map that we've ever done in Iowa. So pretty cool to have a five-star map in Iowa first time. And this storm, two different cities, so it's a combination of both cities getting us to that five-star level, really for both of the maps, if that's what it took. Two are in five stars, lots and lots of houses and businesses impacted there. And then that storm, that particular storm weakened. A second one formed on the south side of Cedar Rapids and then dove to the south and east towards Davenport and impacted 2-inch hail. So some very significant hail across the Davenport area, and it was very active again across that Iowa, still in the more active parts of the country. As we go on, we had our 4-star map, and this one was in Michigan. Again, all these areas, very rare to get hail this far north this early in the year, but we were able to pull it off. And in Michigan, we did a 4-star map. So again, rare, but this one was more of a scattering of storms. So we had storms all over Michigan that were doing work. So we had storms really anywhere from, I'm going to look over to my left so I can see what we're talking about here, but the Battle Creek area, Plainwell, North Branch, Michigan, and then storms just kind of, there was a couple of storms over around Ann Arbor. There was one near, let's see, Lansing, Michigan had a storm. And again, so just the combination of all these. So it's not from one particular storm that pushed us over the top to a 4-star map, but it's really a combination of all the and the across Milwaukee was up in Wisconsin. It dropped 2-inch hail. Actually, from a friend of mine up in northern Wisconsin from that particular storm. Kind of crazy. He was picking up the hail. He said it was really hard. It was 2-inch in diameter. Didn't hit a lot of stuff, but there was a lot of snow on the ground still too, which is really rare. Like I said, super rare to get hail that far. So we actually have a photo in our hail map of that 2-inch hailstone, and you can see in the background. You might have thought it was hail, but it was actually snow. That was laying on the ground. So super rare to get that, again, to get hail this far north in Wisconsin. But this one labeled as a 3-star map, again, hit a lower number of homes, so it didn't do quite as much damage, or at least have as much damage potential as some of the other storms might have had, and the reasons why we rated those as 4- or 5-star maps. Now, as always with all of our maps, obviously we make these maps and we rate these maps as soon as the storm happens. So we don't know if the hail, I couldn't tell you how much damage actually occurred, but I would expect that out of all the storms, if we were to combine them all together, probably the day in particular, close to, I would say, between 500 million and $1 billion worth of damage combined between all the storms. So not one storm doing a lot of significant damage, but a combination turning into quite the impactful day. And I know John's got our forecast coming up here where he's going to talk about today and tomorrow. Both look very impactful, and we should have a lot more storms. So, John, I'm going to kick it back to you. I'm going to let you take this away. Let them know what the hail forecast looks like.
All right, guys. So I'm going to just turn Derik off here. Bye, Derik. So thanks for having that in there here, Derik. Hopefully things were working okay. This was probably a little bit of a stretch for my MacBook Pro to get Derik in here, but nonetheless, we're going to be jumping into that forecast for today, where it looks like we're going to be seeing quite a bit of activity, especially in Missouri, like I mentioned before. So here is that forecast map for this afternoon, and a lot of different little risk levels showing up, a lot of different hail sizes. Got that significant hail potential all the way up into places like St. Louis and into parts of Illinois and even into Iowa, areas that were impacted just yesterday across places maybe around near Davenport. You got that moderate chance for hail, but that pinpoint you have there, that high risk zone, that is going to be in the St. Louis area. Significant chance for some pretty big time storms likely going to be forming this afternoon in southeastern sections of Iowa, eastern Missouri, a lot of Illinois, and down even getting close to the Nashville area. So that's what we're looking at for today for that one area. We also have your, I'm sure your eyes probably went over to the San Antonio area where we also have a low end chance. This is a boomer bust scenario for San Antonio. If any storms do form, we could be seeing well upwards into that baseball size hail territory. So hang on one second, guys. There we go. So that's what we're looking at over there. And then we also have to the south in Alabama, possibly over by Birmingham, we could see some hail upwards of golf ball size as well, and that could extend into Georgia, along with some storms. I think storms are already beginning now over by West Virginia that could have up to some golf ball size hail as well. So we're going to break this down by city. We're going to start with St. Louis. That is the best area, my pick city for today, between 6 and 9 p.m., and we could have very large hail, up to 3-inch hail possible with any of these storms. It looks like they're going to be isolated, and what was in place yesterday is pretty much in place for today. So it's really looking like anything gets going, it could have some very, very large hail, high chance of getting at least quarter-size hail in the St. Louis area, and borderline moderate to high chance for golf ball size hail and larger. So if you do get impacted, if you get a big time supercell moving through, you're definitely going to be seeing that big time hail in St. Louis between about 6 and 9 p.m. Birmingham, Alabama, completely different setup within our risk area. That's going to be between about 3 this afternoon and 8 p.m. tonight. You're going to be a little bit smaller up to golf ball size hail. Conditions aren't as ripe for the mega hail in Birmingham, but you could have a moderate chance of that, and then just borderline moderate low chance of up to that golf ball size hail. I wouldn't be surprised if they do get hail. It'd be closer to that quarter to ping pong ball size. And here we go to San Antonio and Austin. This is the boomer bust scenario. If there is anything, it'd be between about 3 or 8 p.m. That's your window of time of any storms. If they happen, that's when they'll happen. And biggest hail size of everything so far at risk today. If any storms can get going, you get that one lone supercell to go, boom or bust, up and possibly well over 3 inches in diameter. I'm saying 3.5 is your max size, but look at that low chance. So it's really going to be, if a storm forms, it could have very large hail, and it's going to be flirting with a very populated area of Texas along the I-35 corridor near San Antonio and Austin. So, wind forecast for today, it looks like what's going to happen is we're going to have all these storms. Going to be very, again, similar to yesterday. We had all these big storms happen in Michigan, Illinois, Iowa, and then we had a pretty strong wind risk across parts of Pennsylvania and Ohio. I think it's going to be kind of similar, where once these supercells congeal into a line, that puts Tennessee into a much more significant wind risk, and you could have anything in there. Could be gusts, upwards of 70 miles an hour with any of the strongest storms, especially if it does turn into that strong line. So what does the future radar look like? Well, this was the most recent run of the models here, and you can see those isolated storms forming and moving through Illinois and over by St. Louis, and eventually, again, congealing into that line that could really pose a threat for some serious winds in there. So I know I mentioned St. Louis, but anywhere from Springfield, Peoria, Bloomington, all those cities in the middle of the state of Illinois are all also at risk. So also to the south, you can see the storms forming in Georgia and Alabama. We're going to keep an eye on those. I mean, that could end up being your little sleeper storm of the day. The first storm of the day is definitely going to be over kind of near where Davenport is, another big time hail potential, and then we shift off to the east a little bit into the Carolinas, and you can see the hail potential there with the little storms forming over by Virginia and into North Carolina this afternoon. Those again could have up to golf ball size hail with them, and then that line of storms moving through in the overnight hours. And then finally down in Texas, our boomer bust scenario, you got that one little storm forming there, and if that does happen, it's been fairly consistent on the models, we could actually see pretty intense hail there, and Storm Prediction Center is in agreement with us of anything that does happen, it could be some big time hail. So do those hail dances, guys. Apparently you guys are doing it pretty good, because our forecast for the week changed pretty drastically from earlier this week. This is the forecast for Thursday. I know a lot of folks in Texas yesterday were going, what gives for all of these storms that happened in the Great Lakes region. Well, here you go. Is your risk for tomorrow. So if today doesn't pan out, I already have a moderate chance of upwards of baseball size hail from San Antonio to Houston. So the lower end of the Texas Triangle, going from San Antonio to Austin to Houston, all that moderate risk, and then lower chances in the surrounding areas. But looking at this pretty carefully, it looks like this could also be a sneaky day of potentially some very large hail in a major population area for your day tomorrow. And this is going to be in the afternoon. A lot of activity looks like it's going to form and impact southern Texas. I don't have it on the forecast for today. It took a lot to try to get everything going with what we were trying to do for the 5-star map, but it looks like we could potentially have hail, pretty big event going into this weekend as well. So that's going to be for your Saturday and your Sunday. The system I was talking about yesterday looks like it's going to be slowing down quite a bit, and that means that could put the southern plains like Oklahoma and Texas in play for Saturday, and potentially a very significant looking severe weather event in the southeast on Easter Sunday. So I'll be watching this. I'll actually be able to go into more detail about it tomorrow, and we can break that down for you guys. I think Friday is going to be our only real break in the action for severe weather, and we could be kicking off again on Saturday and Sunday. So make sure you guys follow us here on Facebook. Hit see first. I got a lot of new faces on here. I apologize if there's any sort of glitchy delay problems. It takes a lot to get the green screen pushed through the office and into my personal laptop. And follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Search @HailTrace. Make sure you have those notifications turned on, whether you get notified through Facebook, notified through our app. We do live coverage. We did quite a bit of live coverage yesterday, and we do send out that notification when we go live. You don't want to miss any of that when it isn't at a scheduled time. Give us a call. Phones are ringing like crazy today. 855-334-4245. Love to hear from you. If you got any comments, questions, concerns, you got some feedback, you need to do a hail report, you need to get set up with HailTrace, or you need to find out some training to figure out how HailTrace works, we love to hear from you. Give us a call. If you don't like talking on the phone, that's fine. You can email us as well at info@hailtrace.com. You can message us on intercom. Find out more details about HailTrace as well on our website at hailtrace.com. So everybody, we will see you later. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll hopefully do those hail dances. We'll do some live coverage a little bit later on in the St. Louis area, or maybe some other city. Put in the comment section below where you think you will have some live coverage. I'll see you guys later.